Ladies and gentlemen, I got Wendy Jones, and the episode starts. Let's see if I can do this right, right now. All right, here we are. Listen, you demand, and whenever you demand, you shall receive. Because me, I've got to give the people. I give the people what they want. Dun, 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 dun. Ladies and gentlemen, Wendy Jones, what's good?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We were just talking before we got on set. We were talking about just this COVID thing and like activities, and I asked you like if there's any particular TV show or program, and you're not much of a TV person, so I didn't want to blindside you before we got on, but we were talking about Last Dance.
Yes. I mean, loving that they have all that video from back in that was my entrance into being a major sports fan when Jordan was doing his thing. So I looked forward to it starting during this whole quarantine thing that it started, and every episode I've watched is incredible. I still haven't finished it because I am the worst television watcher on the planet, but I will finish it. And fascinated with Dennis Rodman, fascinated with Jordan. That there's just so many stories in there. It's been amazing.
The thing I liked about it is that it lived up to the hype. If you, for the people that are stuck on TV, and I know some people are like, oh, I don't watch TV. TV sucks. No, I love some TV. I got a little lazy with the reality shows, but I love me some TV. So, Last Dance, they promoted it for weeks.
Yeah.
So most of the time you promote something, it's coming, and you're expecting something, and you're just disappointed. No, 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 no. This lived up to the hype. This
Oh,
is,
no doubt.
and you're almost done. This is living up to the hype. And I'm not surprised at how intriguing Dennis Rodman was. I mean, if you never knew anything about him, you can guess a lot of that stuff correctly. And then he has his own docu series, one or two things here. So I wasn't surprised from him. Jordan really was the one everyone wanted to know, right? He's
Yeah. Oh,
he's
for
the private
sure.
guy.
Yeah.
He's yeah, he's the guy that stayed away from the spotlight and kind of let his game do the talking, and like this generation is like, oh my god, he's a deal. He's
Seriously. And
ass.
they hadn't seen that footage, and you just forgot, it had, it'd been out of our view for a while, and then you start watching that footage, and you just remember the magic of watching him play. And it was, yeah, it's just something else. And not to say there's tons of talent out there today, but there will always be something about Jordan that takes me back, and it's too great to watch. It's just amazing.
And the other thing I like, this whole "be like Mike" thing. I think a lot of people misinterpreted it. You see him on I mean, in our day, we're growing up, we see him in the commercials, and he's playing hoops with the kids, drinking Gatorade. 38 grams of sugar, or whatever is worse than Coca-Cola, for Christ's sakes. But I think "Be Like Mike" was more like take something that a lot of people don't think you can do and not only do it but excel at it, and people might have misinterpreted that like be like Mike, like you're supposed to be this role model for kids, you're supposed to go to church every Sunday, you're supposed to be baptized, you're supposed to eat, I don't know what the hell you're supposed to eat these days that
Yeah.
inspire the children, but in that case he couldn't be your Superman.
Right. Well, I'm always fascinated by the edge that it takes to maximize human performance. And obviously he did that, and he had the talent and the skill, but there's always a mindset behind that too, and that's what I'm always most intrigued by, because you give up a lot to live at that level, and you got to see that in the documentary. You got to see the behind the scenes and the mentality, and it was that's always my favorite part.
It's my favorite part because it's old school. All right,
Yeah.
I'm a coach. I've been coaching for 21 years. You are a power mom. All right,
Yeah,
you got
power mom turning coach.
you
So
got
I'm
you,
taking a lot of those principles that I've used to raise my kid and kids, and I've got two athletes and that are getting to that D1 level, and I'm raising two more, and it's the principles between parenting, coaching, and teaching are all, they coexist. So they're so similar.
Very good. I'm looking
Yeah.
down because I'm sharing this actual podcast with volleyball coaches and trainers because I think people need to know your perspective. Okay. You're a coach. You are a longtime player. All right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we got out there this morning for the first time. Made it to the beach, played some doubles. It was amazing. Life was getting back to normal. It was great.
God, I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start the end of June. Kelly and Braxton are gonna go to Wisconsin, so I just want to make sure, as far as COVID or being infected and all that stuff, they get there in one piece. They get there clean. Beach volleyball national events I think is starting up the 16th for and practice is going to start up, and my phone's blowing up with mass text because I have volleyball groups that the rare occasion I play, there's always a group that's like, hey, and I'm like, all right, I'm coming, all right.
Yeah.
So so I'm going to wait till the 23rd. I got one job to do, and that's sit here and freaking watch movies and play video games and do my podcast. I mean, this is the one time America's asking you not to do anything.
It's true. That's true. And the introvert in me has been pretty happy on a lot of days with this schedule, not running ourselves ragged. It gives you a lot of time to write and produce and think, and it actually hasn't personally been all bad. I want our economy to get back to work. I want people to be able to be out and move, and obviously you want everyone to be healthy, but there's a lot of contemplative change that's taken place in the last 3 months. So I'm always looking for the silver lining, and I definitely think people are, it's made them think about their priorities and how they want to spend their time. So it's definitely been an interesting time.
Okay, Wendy, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you know why I asked you back on this podcast?
Well, you put up a pretty bomb Facebook post the other day. I commented on it, and I think I only said 4 or 5 words, but next thing I knew, my phone rang. So I don't know if it has something to do with that, but I always like talking to you.
Well, when you posted, I lost my mind. I was like, because every time you post, I scream Wendy Jones, okay?
Oh,
Wendy Jones! Now I'm calling everybody by their first and last name, Rob McLean, who I do the Sports Debate Tuesday podcast
Yeah,
with.
I watched
Rob McLean.
Yeah.
Everyone's first and last name. Kelly Campbell. My freaking women. Braxton Campbell DeVilliers. This is why. Because since the last time you were on, up to this point, it's been a pretty miserable fucking country. Don't ever leave us again, okay? Since our last podcast, we got hit with COVID. All right, we got hit with COVID. We had a Democratic primary that between someone someone who might not live because he's old, and if someone lives, someone might not remember if he gets a nomination, against the Cheeto in chief. All right, so that's the whole political thing. We'll step back out and back in. So you got the COVID, then you have one case of police brutality too many that just made this thing not just something that everybody just popped off. All right, this not a spontaneous thing. This was a pot of boiling water that just finally boiled over. And these are all the things that have been happening since you've gone. We haven't no volleyball, right? I'm a coach, so no coaching, right? I'm a color commentator, no color commentating. Got to still doing the podcast, thank God. In fact, Zoom has actually helped me on the podcast because there's some people that can't make it in studio, some very interesting guests that are able to do it this way. So don't ever leave us again.
All right, you got it.
All right, so just for the people watching, Wendy Jones is the founder, and she is the woman in charge. Woman in charge. She's the wick of the Optimist Journal podcast, and she's also the power mom, where all of her kids are like volleyball savages. You got a daughter at TCU, right? Where's your son going?
What was that?
Where's your son going?
My son will go to Stanford, play volleyball in the fall, assuming all goes to everyone
Nice.
goes back to school and sports go back to normal. But that's the plan right now.
So I got a lot of people listening. I have RP Sports Council, volleyball coaches and trainers, Central Park Volleyball. I get around. What is the secret? Let's just start from a domestic perspective. What's the secret, or two or three things that you would pieces of advice that you would give other volleyball moms whose kids are enthusiastic about playing a sport? Let's be more acute. Let's just say the kids want to play volleyball.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the
Three
head
things.
there with kids who are enthusiastic. I think to get to that next level, people say, oh, you talk about your kid going to Stanford like it's no big deal. Well, it's not no big deal. It's just I never felt like it had a whole lot to do with me. I mean, I drove him, I fed him, I listen, but they have to want it. That's the number one thing. They have to want it. It does not matter what we want when it comes to them showing up at practice. We can teach them to have a good attitude, and I do think that is pretty huge in being recruited. Like I've always told my kids, who obviously have had some athletic talent, if you're the best guy on the court, you better be the most supportive, and I think if you bring up the players around you, it makes for the best athlete all around, right? So, that's one thing I always taught them. But really, in the end, they have done the work and they put in countless hours. I mean, my daughter she threw down the gauntlet and said, this is what I want to do. And she went out and she played those Get Noticed tournaments. And she said, she knew that she wanted to go to a big school with a football program. She loves sports and she made it to TCU with Hector and she's absolutely loving it. Can't wait to go back. So, that's a win. You always want to see your kids thriving and happy where they are. So Texas has been great for her. And
it's Hector.
Yeah, getting with a good coach is huge. If they have, those role models outside of me, I always say look for those coaches that want to be a role model, not just, they're going to run you through your drills. And I'm big on the game of life, so I always am teaching how what you learn on the court applies to life, right? Because most of us don't end up playing professional. Some of us don't even play in college, but I think the things you learn in sports carry you throughout your life. So I have all my kids playing something because regardless of their level of talent, I want them learning to be coached, learning to show up for somebody else, and, just that discipline that comes from it.
No doubt. Yeah. And I think coaches being flexible like that, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. We were just talking about The Last Dance. Jordan, as far as like motivating his players and the way he talks to his teammates, it was probably the only way he knew how. All right. Could he have changed? Yeah, but there's a way that he knew how, that his way of iron sharpening iron has built a lot of how should I say, thick-skinned players that helped him win rings, because The Last Dance is really about the Chicago Bulls. Is he the common denominator? Yes, but you got Phil Jackson, who's a personality that can switch in and out. He motivates this guy. He tells Shaq, hey, you want to do yoga? So he's someone that got 11 rings as a coach, but he has 13 altogether. He has 2 as a player. He played for the Knicks. In 70 and 73, he won 2 rings with the Knicks. So people forget that he's got 13 rings. And it's important for kids to be like that, to be interchangeable, because the idiot savant is a dying breed. Like the person who's just this rigid character. They might be uptight and this and that, and they only do this one thing well. Coach volleyball. They were tolerable because they were so good at their job. Bring your attention to Bobby Knight. All right. Probably not the easiest guy in the world to play for, and we can go on and on. And I don't even think Anya Carrier is that easy to play with. I think she's got a hell of a sense of humor, but she's got a hell of a sense of humor because they've been winning a lot. Have you seen that woman when they lose?
No, actually, I haven't.
Everybody can get it. From the assistant coaches on down. You could ask Dane. You could definitely ask Eric Fenoy Moana. I'm not going to blow up his spot on what happened, with that. But she got out the game. I mean, she could have stayed in as long as she wanted, but it's an endangered species.
Yeah.
So very really cool that your kids are like that. I didn't have a chance to talk to your son a lot, but I've talked to your daughter a lot without even knowing that you were the mom.
Oh,
Just there's
great.
just so many instances in that case.
Yeah.
So yeah. So have you ever seen a show called The Wire, an HBO
I have
series?
not seen The Wire.
So
I've heard of it.
if you binge, that's your next box set.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right.
because The Wire brings up is basically the state of the black man in an urban area, um, as far as the foundation, or just gives someone an appreciation of what it's like. This
Yeah.
is the setting is Baltimore.
Okay.
The setting is Baltimore. So this 5-part series. The first part is about the drug, whatever. The second is seasons about employees, dock workers, and this and that, union guys. The third one is about politics, how politics comes into play. The entire fourth season, my favorite, is about education, like kids in school, how to keep kids in school, how to keep them interested in
Oh,
learning, and this and that. And the fifth season was, I think, a little of everything. The fifth season, the lead guy, if there is a lead guy, is kind of, with these kind of shows, it's an ensemble cast, but
okay.
Dominic West, who's Officer McNulty, actually
Okay.
invented a serial killer so his department could get funding. he,
Well, the topics sound really compelling. I
yeah,
mean, that's the kind of stuff I gravitate to when I read.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely, combing the I don't ingest too much news, and actually I'd given it up for quite a while because I found the news pretty depressing. But
They love
those
it, and they love it.
those yeah.
Sorry.
No, those topics you're hitting on are, they're the topics of the day, and I mean when we start with the basics of, where's the starting line, and knowing that the starting line for everybody is different. And if you have a certain segment of the population that, has their starting lines way behind yours, it's really becoming incumbent upon the people who are ahead not to just say we're not part of the problem, because we're not causing big problems, but if we're not actively helping, we're now part of the problem. Because I think we're being called, and hopefully so, that this is a new charge, and we're gonna do something that doesn't just last 2 weeks, but people are fundamentally, household by household, conversation by conversation, gonna make a change, because the power structures are broken.
Yeah. Well, Dwayne Wade said, in order to have collective change, like the unaffected have to be willing participants. And when he said the unaffected, a lot of people think, white people, but no, he's African American, but he's unaffected. He changed his zip code, he changed his setting. Okay, so like LeBron James, I mean, is only affected because he inserts himself into those things. I mean, you want to talk about role models, right? Jordan's a role model because he let his play do the talking. But if I actually wanted my kids to actually have a role model, it's LeBron James. His entrepreneurship. He's been a better ambassador off the court than Jordan will ever be. On the court,
Yeah.
Jordan's the GOAT. So we could just skip that part. Jordan's the greatest of all
Sure.
time. All right, five MVPs, not just six rings, but 6 MVPs. Meaning they won the rings because of you. So so the thing I liked about this first of all, the central character McNulty only does one thing well. He's good police, and he's terrible everywhere else. He cheats on his wife. He's a womanizer. He's a full-blown alcoholic. I mean, as far as Irish guys go, he's even for them, it's pretty bad. Craps on, rejects the man's superiority, defiant to authority. Craps on his partners when he doesn't think they're doing everything right. But when he puts the suit, or he's a plainclothes detective, there wasn't anyone better as far as solving cases and this and that. So. And I think he's an intriguing character because just like we were talking about with coaches, there are people that are only good at doing one thing. Like that movie, that show Boston Legal, that little thing with William Shatner.
Yeah.
He's losing his mind. He had no memory left, but the only thing he can do well was litigate. He was
Yeah.
in the courtroom. You wouldn't even know. So, and I think the reason why they're a dying breed is because one, the job can't save your ass.
Yeah.
right? This is what they do so they can function in their everyday life. The job can't save your ass, and that's, I mean, since you're going to be a coach, and I could give you a piece of advice,
Yeah.
get into it because you're neck deep in it. Okay, both of us are just who we
Yeah.
are. Volleyball's not what we do anymore, right? It's who we are. But
Right.
make sure you have something out of that, because when you're in enthusiasm becomes your career. What do I call it? Your escapism becomes your career. It hurts too much when things go bad.
Yeah.
It hurts too much when things go bad, and it's like quicksand. The harder you work, the deeper you sink until you find out you're in over your head. So, for me, it's karaoke. For me, it's theater performance. So,
Yeah.
when my escapism became my career, you have to have that outlet, because I'm telling you straight up, and you maybe you see this because you're experienced in life, but maybe you don't. Just in case you don't, I will warn you: the job cannot save your ass.
Yeah, I feel you. And I definitely, like, I'm really big on kind of processes. I mean, having 4 kids and trying to do everything I do and every day, there's definitely a process to everything. But my process has become so much more. I don't really believe in balance, but what I believe in is presence, right? So
Okay.
whatever I'm doing, I'm finding joy in doing that thing. And then I'm going to move on from that thing to something else. And my every day, it includes, getting some exercise. I mean, it's been rough the last, this quarantine.
Oh,
I mean,
for you? Yeah. For
missing
you?
yoga, missing the sand, that kind of thing. No pools, no ocean to swim in, like, just crazy. But yeah, I'm with you. The balance of just, sitting down to recover, to read something that's not like because I need to learn this, but just for pleasure, all of that thing. Because in the end, it's all about for me, it's about becoming the fullest version of the person I can become, and then I can help other people that way. So,
No doubt.
yeah.
Yeah. It's also liberating, Wendy.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Like this podcast, some people consider media because I still get fed all kinds of information. Some I share, and some I'm just gonna have to be a ship that never reaches the port. With some of the stuff I know, it can end careers. But I did do media for a year, and just trying to get interviews and trying to whatever. It's one of those things when people blow you off. And you're passionate and you care about it, and you want them to care about you as much as you care about it.
Right.
So, and when they don't, it hurts, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So
You get to know.
Yeah. So if you're but if your strength and your weakness is you personalize your work, gotta watch your back.
Yeah, no, that's so true though. But I think that's why people connect with you, because it's not about being perfect. It's just about knowing that something that you have to say is significant, and believing that what you have to say is significant. And these days, there's absolutely a way to get it out there. And if you change one person's day, does it need to go to 1 million people? If it's meant to go to 1 million people, it'll get there. If it's meant to change the day of one person,
Yeah.
that's good too,
This thing is turning into a beast. I just did it just for fun. I mean, I did it, and now I'm investing money in it because all of a sudden the viewership's gone up. The Facebook, NY Varsity Sports, the Facebook handle started like 3,000 views an episode. I think you got like 6,000 the first time. And now it's like 18,000 views an episode. Had Rob Aspero, he's 54,000 views. On Facebook. On Facebook.
Fantastic.
The YouTube, not so much, because I think they kind of want me to pay to promote it, so it's not popping up on people's wall like it's supposed to. Like Wendy, if I do a volleyball video and you watch a volleyball video on YouTube of mine, what should pop up next to it, suggestions, are maybe at least other volleyball videos, not Kim Kardashian, okay, not
not related,
not all lives matter, not no nonsense like that. So So I'll give you an example. Kelly Clays.
Yeah.
And I guess I have to blow it one person per episode. So this is her, but not so much her as much as her agent. Like, she asked her if she's down, come to the podcast. She seems cool. I have a following that's like, you got to have Kelly on the show. You got to have Kelly on the show. Is the reason why I even indulge, because for me, my ego won't let me pursue anyone. I'll ask, and either you say yes or you say no. You do or you don't. It's pretty. That's the cool thing about a podcast. Instead of doing media where you have to get the interview. For me, it's either you do or you don't. So she said, yeah, I'm down. She didn't say no. She said, yeah, I'm down. But I run everything through my agent. I make sure. So I emailed her agent about a date and time, and he's like, do you have any analytics? And at the time, my analytics were small. So I said, yeah, I'm building up, and I'll get back to you on that. So when I built up, got the viewership, gave my analytics on Spotify, iTunes, whatever, and then he sets up a time, right? And I'm like, sure. So I set up the time, and when I go to when I meet, or I suggest a time, it's a 3-hour time difference. He thought it was 3 hours, and I'm like, all right, cool. That got confused. So he suggests a time, Friday at 11:30, and I'm like, sure. So when I hang up the phone, I'm like, wait a second. He could mean 8:30 my time. So what I do is, he could mean Skype instead of phone. So what I do, first of all, I take my own money and I hire a babysitter, or I pay my babysitter extra cash to watch Braxton to make this possible. 8:00, got the setup, my phone, nothing. All right, maybe he means 11:00 my time, right? Boom, nothing, whatever. So one of the other suggested time was 2:00. No call, no whatever. 5:00, no call, no whatever. So 4 different occasions I take, and this is something like Kelly or whatever, and some of these people that star power don't appreciate. You take time out of your day. For the people that live in South Bay, there are people that have a life outside of volleyball, and I'm not trying to Debbie Downer because you bring nothing but joy, but I'm just giving you an example. I spent that's pretty much my whole day waiting for a phone call, and now I'm spending my own money, paying people to cover because I have a 3-year-old to watch a 3-year-old. So, and from that point on, I said, all right, I'm good. And it's not, me and Kelly Clays is not personal. I don't even think she knows, but because, but my rule is if you won't talk to me, it doesn't mean I won't talk about you. So I'm blowing him up. I'm blowing him up on the show right now.
Well, so. I'll remember. I'll remember to always return your phone call. So.
Yeah. Or make sure your agent got his ash together. I mean,
yeah, listen, no, I agree with you.
But you got a learning experience. You're like, okay, I don't even get to talk to the agent. I don't even get to talk to the agent. So the thing I like about the sport, and we share this, and I brought it up, is because there you got that sunlight out of your chin.
Yeah, sunlight's coming in. I'm moving because there's a big.
You look like Bill Clinton, for Christ's sake. You had like this light behind you shining.
I told you my house is full of kids and dogs and cats, and so I had to find a quiet spot.
Yep. They say that about a few U.S. presidents. Like Trump has it too. Like people that ever met him personally, there's like this bright light behind him, and it's shining, and he is galvanizing like that. Bill Clinton was like that.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton, people were just.
Yep.
It's like leave the screen. So no, it's I think it's very apolitical, very bipartisan. that light is
it goes with the job for sure.
Obama, definitely him too.
Yeah, it's charisma, man. They've got it.
It definitely is. So you've been stuck in the house for a little bit and happy to get out, huh?
Yeah, like I said, I really didn't mind I'm a homebody, so I enjoyed being home a lot. I enjoyed having, more dinners with my kids and walks after dinner. And my heart's been going out to the moms of people like you with the toddlers, because my kids are big and we sit around and talk and they do their own schoolwork. So it's been not too bad.
They're activity driven, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So getting out there this morning, though, when I got back out on the beach and got in the ocean and played doubles, and that's the stuff that, you get back and you go, oh my gosh, this life is so great. And, it's the simple stuff, but man, I was happy to be back out there. So
it's also amazing that, because this lifestyle that we live, and we go full circle, has made us oblivious to, the climate and what has escalated and what has boiled over. Well, first of all, let's start. I want to go COVID and then this. Where were you when your daughter called you and said her season was canceled?
Well, I was at home and they were in South Carolina playing a couple of different, they had a couple matches back there. So it was their spring break, TCU spring break. So she was traveling with her team and they're in South Carolina and they had played, I think, 2 matches and then the third one was scheduled. And then that morning, the third one got canceled. Then they were sitting there for a couple more days. They were in South Carolina for another day or two. Flew through Texas, picked up some stuff. Mom, I'm coming home. By that point, we had figured out because my other kids' schools had been canceled. Luke, they lost their whole high school boys volleyball season.
Yeah.
So that was canceled. The big match between Loyola and Corona Del Mar was scheduled to start at like 4 or 5 o'clock on the March 12th. That comes crashing down. Done. You think you're walking off campus and okay, this will last a couple of weeks. Well, he graduated last Saturday, having never walked back onto campus, never finished a senior season. It's
what an uneventful end.
I know. And that's their perspective. That's like the biggest stuff that's happened to them yet. So, in 20, 30 years, they're going to look back on it and see what they've learned. But right now it's been pretty crushing, and they've handled it well, but watching them, it's hard to watch your kids hurt, and to not have a graduation and not have, to finish your senior season. And now like his club team not being able to they won nationals last year at 17s, to go back to 18s.
See if you could be repeat champs.
The last year they would play, and now that's canceled. So, there's been a lot of heartbreak just on the sports front. I mean, who would have thought we would be not having the Olympics? Like, no Wimbledon, no Olympics, no March Madness. Like, you want to talk about the things I watch on TV? That's what I'm watching.
The reason we even have a TV, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I'm this close to cutting the cable, and what's the only thing that stopped me is sports.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I got a double monitor here. I have a double monitor. So when the Olympics came, I could watch 3 different matches here on my screen and on both TVs. I was ready, dude. I'm going to show the audience the setup. I have a camera set up. I'm going to go to one of the cameras and switch it. Sorry. Let's do that. So that's my screen. You don't see it.
No.
That's the big monitor. That's the other big monitor. I was ready to go. Of course, lock the door. Right? Lock the door. Don't nobody come in unless someone's dying or dead. Or unless you want to watch volleyball.
Yeah, right.
So Wendy, man, when it comes back up, we should have a watch party. You just come over.
Oh yeah.
Me, you. It'd probably be me, you, Greg, and Miranda, or Rob. Just a room where we talk about everything, but we're watching volleyball.
That sounds like my best life right there.
Like Joe Rogan has something called Fight Companion, where all of his colleagues or close friends watch the fights together, and they don't even talk about MMA.
Isn't that I get it, man. Good conversation on the issues of the day with volleyball going on. That sounds
no doubt
perfect to me.
So, I guess, do you think the AVP's done, right? You think the AVP's done for the season?
God, I hate to think that, but it doesn't seem like anything's going back to normal before August. So, do we be nice if everyone got to go to Hawaii in September, right? I mean,
oh my God, what a vacation, right?
Yeah.
Look, we all got money, right, from canceled flights. We all got that money waiting for us.
Everybody's got credit with somewhere. Delta, I've got Delta and Southwest, so yeah, I'd be in.
Yeah, well, I want to go to New York and Hawaii before the year's out. That's what I want to do. New York just because autumn is beautiful, and Hawaii just for the AVP. I'm probably not going to coach anybody this year. The only one I got is probably Rob McLean.
Okay.
And Rafu, when Hawaii comes around, I think he's the coach of San Diego. It's just San Diego State or something like that. So he's not there. And Jake and Earl, they're with P1440. So with them, they have free coaching. So you got like a whole bunch of coaches for free, or you pay me to do it. Yeah, you're going to choose free.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's, that's the one problem with volleyball is there's not a lot of money in it.
No, but the people... Lucky for us, a lot of the people are independently wealthy,
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of rich people coaching.
Everyone's doing it because they love it.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's for sure.
Well, for me, in my defense, You if you go the route, there's multiple coaches and there's always like seven partners to train with. I get that, but what they don't do that I do is live in a video room like a hermit. There isn't a coach in P1440 that's going to prepare you for an AVP tournament, that looks at the brackets, that watches video, up to date video on your competition, and it gives you four ways to beat him or whatever. No, they don't. No, like Pompeo, respect to him. Arturo, respect to him. But no, I'm Brazilian. I'm showing up. Here I am. Okay. So in my defense, where there's quantity, they're missing some quality. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a huge asset to have, is that video analysis for sure. So
yeah. John Mayer's
hats
loving
off
it,
to you.
and it produces results.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, absolutely.
since I've moved here. Since I've moved here, everyone that took a chance on me has done well, right? John Mayer
Nice.
took me on. A year later they win WCCs.
Yep.
Duran took me on, and Les Summers took off. No, Duncan Avery, evolution.
Sure.
Um, he's crewed up with his coaching staff since, but
Yeah.
I mean, that first year we got as high as fifth in the country. So my first
Yeah.
year as a coach, so the 16s. So, but right now they got Tom Chaffins, they got Kevin Norman, you got
Yeah.
me, you got a good crew of guys.
Yeah.
Previously,
Two of my girls played for Tommy, so I'm a
yeah,
huge Tommy fan.
isn't he awesome?
Yeah.
Is he all right? Is he old school? How would you characterize him?
I think he's definitely got an old school vibe, but I think what both of my girls really loved about him is that he gave good feedback. If you wanted to know what you had to do to get better, to make this spot, to be on the court, like he gives you your stats, he tells you what you need to do, and then he says, go and do it, prove me wrong. Like, if you think you should be playing, here's where I think you need to do. And I think good athletes respond to that feedback, and he gives it. So they
Yeah, man,
respected him a lot for that.
he's theater performance too. I've come to a couple of
Yes,
games.
he's so fun to watch, Coach.
I've come. I mean,
Oh gosh, he's fun.
yeah. Listen, just like me in New York, there were some people that used to come just to watch me. He's the West Coast Jason, except more bearable than I am. Yeah. But I'm serious. Like there was a game, City College. I think there was a crowd of people that came just to see what I was gonna say, and then I was mic'd up after the first set. They took the mic off. It was too much. You can't imagine what you say to yourself that you hope nobody else hears.
Yep, so true.
Picture Bill Parcells. That's pretty
Ooh,
much who I was.
okay.
I was Bill Parcells. I was a mean cuss, but I was mean. I was the same mean cuss to everybody. So, when you're equal opportunity like that, and again, when iron sharpens iron, if they're still there, they're mentally
Yeah,
tougher.
well,
Yeah.
that's another thing that gets you to the next level, right? Is you got to be able to take that stuff. I mean, you don't get to the highest levels of sports without being able to handle the iron. Sure,
No.
I mean, that's
As far as working with coaches, John Mayer is the only one I've seen do it, and the entire season kept the mood light. You know what I'm saying?
really,
Like as far as emotional,
yeah.
and not too emotionally high or low. I work with quite a few coaches. I'm mentored by Mario Tribic. He was a head coach of the Netherlands in '92 and
Oh,
'96, who
okay.
won the silver and the gold. So that's my mentor. He ain't no nice guy.
Yeah.
I got to see Dane do some clinics. Anna Collier, some of the beach coaches were talking about it. I did
Yeah.
worked with Alan Knipe. High performance tryouts. Got to know him a
Mhm.
little bit. But right now, John Mayer is the only one that's like came in zen, came out zen. And
Yeah.
all of the players at the team meeting was like, "There's no way, uh, there's no way we could play for anybody else." There was like zero
Well,
drama, you know.
yeah, that's interesting, because I think every athlete kind of responds differently, and you have to, like, I interviewed Fallon one time and asked her, how do you know how you, like, how does your energy work, and how do you figure out how you perform the best? Because some athletes perform the best when they're just on fire. Some, they've got to find that calm center. So, coaching, when you get to those highest levels, you can match your coaching up with the style of the athlete and how they perform the best. I mean,
Yeah,
as we're coming up, you need to learn how to handle different coaches and different methodologies and different takes on coaching. And I think that's important. But I think when you get to the highest levels, you match with a coach that that plays to your strength,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
100%. Yeah, LMU had someone, Bo Chulo. She's like the pair one her second year. She came in as a freshman.
uh-huh.
She's one of these girls, like if you sent her hunting, she'll go into the woods with no hunting experience and come back with
With,
like a moose and like drop
yeah,
the you mean like this?
barehanded.
You mean like
Yeah.
this? you know? She was a fiery person, but I think John was good for her because um Fallon, I'm disqualifying Fallon as an example because Fallon's a special kind of person when it comes to going to being up and staying up. All right,
Yeah.
that's a different that can't be taught. That's what that you have that or you don't.
Yeah,
And
that's the
and I think
fire
you have to be a
within.
little cray cray, right?
Yeah.
So, but John teaches people, and John brought me on because I teach people this. Big waves crash.
Yeah.
Big waves crash. Small waves, this and this. So you want to be high, but not too high, because only I can only name five people, maybe five people that started high, stayed high, finished high, and those are the guys. And when you go against them, you're like, this person's demon possessed.
Yeah.
They're still what?
Right.
This is the third match and they're still like that? What?
Yeah. No,
Fallon is that dude and she's a girl.
yeah.
Fallon is that dude.
Yeah, I think most of us have kind of a window of tolerance, to use a term. I don't know if you know Brian McKenzie and the Art of Breath. I'm super
Yep.
big on his work, and he has this zone of window of tolerance for how we respond to the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, and riding the wave of the things that come into our lives. So that can be on the court, or whatever's coming into your day, and you want to learn how to ride that window of tolerance rather than being way up here and then you're going to sink way down here. And
No.
most of us don't that's not when we're going to operate at our best. So,
No. And you have to consider having a partner who can ride
yeah.
who
Oh,
can
yeah. When
not
there's only
not
two
not be
people,
up with you but ride the wave with you. Right,
yes.
and make sure when the wave goes down, make sure the ship still floats. That's the best. I
Yes.
mean, when we talk about analogies, I'm on fire right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Fallon, she's fine. She made semifinals last year. She actually had to beat Betsy Flynn and Emily Day to get to the semi. So she one of her better years on the beach. But it's really, to me, it's about whatever partner can ride that wave with her. Like she had
Yeah.
Alexa Strange for a while, which I still think is the best match. I mean
Yeah,
they
I
they're
haven't
just
gotten
trying
to
out
see her
different people.
play too much with Corinne. I've watched him practice a little, and I think it looks pretty promising. I
Oh, is she
love
back
watching
with
Corinne. Corinne
Corinne?
Quiggle. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. That's
that's some good
cool.
stuff.
Do you know who Corinne Quiggle played for?
I think she was a Pepperdine.
Pepperdine.
Yeah,
Good school.
pretty sure.
Good school.
Yeah.
Hey, people want to go to Pepperdine. The whole team travels.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
the whole team travels. So anyone interested, that wants to know about that, they're happy about that.
Yeah.
Also a pretty relatively friendly team. You know what I'm saying? It's not. Some people, and I'm good at reading people. They're doing that because they have to. And some
Yeah.
people do it because it's like the correct thing to do or the nice thing to do. And there's some people that are just authentically nice. And Pepperdine, I think, is very careful of picking out people that are the latter.
Yeah, that
This
definitely that's huge. It makes a team experience a lot more enjoyable. Just watching what my daughter's gone. She's having, when you're traveling with girls, then you're living with them, and you're together all the time. So that's a big deal. You want to
yeah.
get those personalities that want to be a team.
I don't want to sound like I'm crapping on people who are being nice for its own sake too. I think that takes a special skill set too, right? I mean, that's important, but I mean,
Yeah.
to perform
Well,
in that respect is important and not seem like you're phony. So yeah, right? I mean, nobody, at the end of the day, if your game's coming, no one cares if you had a bad day. You're right. Either you win or you
oh,
lose.
true. Yeah,
It's,
and I mean,
it's a
there's
cold world.
sports. All my life I've heard, nice is overrated, and maybe that's true, but I think having respect between your teammates, understanding what everybody brings to the party, and really just wanting to have fun together, because if you're not having fun, the college athlete thing, it can turn into a job if you're not enjoying yourself, right? I mean, there's a lot of hours. So my daughter loves it, but
Yeah.
it comes with its fair share of work, so you got to enjoy the people you're with.
Yeah, especially for college where you have to tell
Yeah.
yourself like, is this do I want this to be my experience for 12 months out of the year, my college
Yeah.
experience, 12 months out
Yeah.
of the year? And some people, maybe your daughter in particular, answers yes.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
100%.
my girl Kelly, the love of my life.
Yeah.
The answer was no. Like, did she love volleyball? Yeah, she loves volleyball. She loves tennis. She loves golf.
Yeah.
Well, I just found out she doesn't love golf. She just wants to get good at it. She's tired of sucking at it. And she said, ask any golf player if they love it. They don't. They're just playing. So
Yeah, they're mean competitors. Yeah, it sounds like she's quite the competitor.
yeah, but ends up going to Harvard, right? Do I want this to be my 12-month experience out of the year? And for her, respect to her, because at a young age, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you get in and you're like, oh my God, I want out. And it's kind of too late, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of like wanting to be an accountant your whole life until you major in it and you're like, oh my God, forget, F this.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, so that's very, very important for the kids. And I think I gotta stop crapping on people who smile for its own sake, because in New York you always want to point out who's phony or not, and on my part that's very unfair to them, because a smile goes a long way.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
these days, I mean, especially because we've had our faces covered, like you got to smile with your eyes. Like I'm a big believer in the smile, to be honest with you. Like I
Yeah.
think it changes your mood. Like if if you're down, you smile, it actually changes your brain chemistry.
Your eyes are also magnetic.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's crazy, and that's dangerous because sometimes you have a mask on and you look at someone.
Yeah.
And
no,
you're
that's
friendly.
for
They're
sure.
like, oh my God, I think she
Yeah.
likes me. And you're like, I don't like you.
Yeah, I don't like having the mask on because I don't like not being able to read a face. So I do try to read the eyes. Yeah.
I can't imagine how many times they misread yours, though. You're friendly. Your eyes are friendly. You're friendly to everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
You get followed home. Then they find out you're jacked or whatever, and they see all these muscles. Are like, okay, I'm gonna pick an easier girl that won't give me a three piece and a soda. Pop pop pop.
Oh, my daughter has that in her. No,
Nope.
I didn't.
Yeah. So, what are the episodes you missed out on? Miranda, and I forgot the female guest. We were talking about street harassment. It's mostly an urban thing, and it's weird. Like as far as a guy wanting to compliment someone and at the same time, not be over aggressive.
Right.
Where I wonder where is that line? Where is?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm one of those people that thinks like there's two things. I mean, chivalry isn't dead in my mind.
no, just
I
it smells funny, but it ain't
Yeah.
it ain't dead.
It ain't dead. And I a well-given compliment is,
Mm.
is not offensive to me. Also, I think if you know yourself well, you have pretty good instincts. Like when you feel safe and when you don't. So it's always about whether you have that feeling of safety, and you're just having a conversation, and you can lean in or you can back away. But I don't. The world around here to me is not too threatening.
No, it's
So
It's the bu-
I
we're the
don't.
bu- the
I'm
bubble
not in
bunch.
the big city all that often. I still believe in one-on-one human connection. Like I will talk to anybody in a coffee shop. I will, and so yeah, you do get into those situations where you're like, oh, did I say too much? But I'm just such a believer in that one conversation that's going to change your day or someone else's day. That
Can you appreciate how much fun it was asking you this question? Because the whole time you're answering it, she's like, "You're really asking the wrong person." I did it just for fun. It's my podcast.
ask away.
Good answer there. I mean, because to me, I was like, I'm definitely asking the wrong person because you're chill with everybody, and you're also in an environment where you're not getting catcalled. You're not,
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. It's like I'm pretty thankful for where I am and where my kids are growing up, and knowing that we're incredibly fortunate to have a very pretty safe environment to be raising them. So
Yeah. Kid going to Stanford. I love that. Outside hitter?
outside hitter, yeah,
Yeah. It's the Harvard of the West Coast. Wendy?
that's right, yeah.
Cool.
He's been going to Stanford football games since he was a kid. So his dad went to school up there. So his dad played football there. So Luke's been going to Stanford games and been a Stanford fan his whole life. So it's a dream come true for sure.
Where'd you go?
I went to Cal Poly San Luis. Absolutely
Oh,
loved it. Yeah.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Still
Excellent.
one of my favorite areas of the state for sure.
Dare I ask what you studied?
Sure. I was an ag business major, which nobody around here has even heard of. So my family farms in the Central Valley, and I thought I was gonna do what they did. And I'm still involved in. It's a family business, so I know what's going on. But I couldn't. It wasn't for me. Like it. I needed to do. Looking back, I could have been a journalism major, psychology, journalism. Those are my. I'm a writer. I love to write, and psychology and just figuring out human nature is so my thing. So a lot of what I'm doing now has nothing to do with my background, but I'm thankful for it. I love what my family does, and there's a really rich history there, so that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Like again, good podcast, right? The option meets the Optimist Journal. The
Yeah.
student of human nature meets the freak of human nature. So you probably have a lot to say what's going on in our current climate too, right? I mean, as you know, on Facebook, I kind of broke my silence,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm tempted to just read it again, but
It was really brilliantly written, and
I'm
your lens on it is so interesting. I really appreciated the way you wrote about where you had come from and the places of service you have been and your background. It really speaks to the time because you have so many different qualifiers. For me, I think we've really hit a place where people, frankly, who have lived the life that I lead need to sit back and listen more
yeah.
than we talk.
Hmm.
And ironically, one of my biggest leading into this summer and clearly not knowing we were going to end up in this historic time with the protests and everything that's gone on, I started this quarantine reading two Maya Angelou books. I have a huge Maya Angelou quote in my
One of them, Cage Bird.
what was that? Yeah.
Yeah. I
Actually,
know what the Cage Bird sings.
I read Mom and Me first because it's about her relationship with her mom, and it was just beautiful. Which
Yeah.
that parent to child relationship is huge. But man, she had. And I listened to her on a podcast, that she had done with Oprah before she passed away. And her wisdom, just surpasses pretty much anybody for me. Like she's my number one right now. So that kind of led me to start thinking about, the things that she was subjected to in her life and how she overcame those. If you can rise to the level that woman rose to and had, the trauma inflicted on her, that I believe in the power of every human to do that. But, we are in a place where collectively as a society, people are held down by generations of psychological not belonging. And I can't imagine, the implication generation after generation of being told that you don't belong. It's different. I can think of the few times in my life where I felt like I don't belong somewhere, and it hurts like heck, right? It hurts. So you think about over and over and over again, that is seeping into a family lineage and a culture that people like me need to just sit back and ask, listen to the dialogue and be the change. I mean, but how can I be the change? Right now, I think I can be the change by just being open and listening and not taking offense. You were getting into the cancel culture thing, and people need to have a right
It's
to have
fully loaded, wasn't it? That
yeah.
post was,
And the dialogue
had everything in it. Sorry,
dialogue is healthy if we're not feeling threatened, right? So if we can give people the environment to where they don't feel threatened, and for people with my background to be able to ask questions and not feel like we can't, and just see where that dialogue can go. I do think it's done one person with every interaction, and then we can go what can companies do and what can neighborhoods do, and we can build it up from there. But we're all human beings.
The
We
op-
need to just keep
the,
talking.
yeah, the operative word you said was listen. Okay, very
Yeah.
important. Just listen. Listen to whole sentences. Listen to the whole. Listen to everything. Take it in. Ask questions. Then form an intelligent response. So that's the operative word. My operative sentence in that my whole diatribe was get over yourselves.
Yes.
For the people that never experienced this, I'll give you another example. Let's say you're a woman and your boyfriend cheats on you, right? And let's say you say, "Oh my God, men are dogs." If you're a guy and you hear a girl say that, men are dogs, and you're like, "Oh, I take exception. I never cheated on her. I never did this." It's not about you. There's a
No.
time. There's a time to shut the fuck up. There's a time to shut up and let whatever. So that's why this whole all lives matter.
Yeah.
Sure, all lives matter, but all lives don't matter. You don't. That is not the time and place to say all lives matter. I'm
Agree.
sorry.
Yeah.
You're not disrespecting all lives by saying Black Lives Matter. All right.
Yeah.
I
No,
am
it's
okay.
it's speaking to the one trauma that has been inflicted. Like, you don't when your partner needs to hear "I love you," you don't say, "Well, I love everybody," right?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
say, like, "I need to speak to this trauma right now." It
And
doesn't
everybody
mean,
else get over themselves.
yeah, exactly. It's not your turn. Like, and that's okay.
There is a turn to say. There is a time to say all lives matter. I get that, but like we just said, now's not that time. And
No.
and listen, I don't have a white whisperer. Okay, my father's white. My mother's African American. I came out of the womb of a black woman. I grew up in Flatbush Avenue. I'm born in Coney Island, okay? Cary
Okay.
Gardens. Not to be confused with Carroll Gardens for the people that moved to New York, okay? Cary Gardens is the projects. They have a group of roaches that could not be stomped, exterminated, or beat down, all right? I'll give you an example. My mom worked for a law firm. They had a limo service take her because she worked till 12:30 at night. They had a limo service take her back home, drive her home. So there were cops that were doing random stops because there was a gun running. I guess scandal or project going on upstate New York where people were buying guns legally and running them into the city. For drug deals and this and that. So what happened is they stopped the car, which she found bizarre. I mean, the driver's white. They asked the driver for a license. They asked the driver to get out of the car. He gets out of the car. They make her roll down the window and they're like, "Do you have some ID?" So she's like, "Why? Why do I need to show you ID?" And they're like, don't. Now, listen, normally if someone says that, you have people out there saying, if the police ask you to do something, you just do it. No, because if that person were white, wouldn't have been asked for ID. Maybe she would have, maybe she wouldn't have. And if that person were white, and if the white person asked why, the police officer would tell her why. Instead, because she's black, he says, "Don't be a smart ass, get out of the car." And she's like, "No, I'm not getting out of the car." He pulls her out of the car, throws her to the ground. My mom's in her 50s, okay? Puts his knee in her back, all right? And she spends like the entire night in jail. This situation where public servants, people we pay, that work for us, decided to make the situation totalitarian, almost militaristic. All right, like he's a soldier or a sentry instead of a cop. So whatever, she sued the department. They're taking it out of his check. He went shopping, saw her, rolled his eyes at her. It is what it is. Okay. I have an uncle, a younger uncle. Someone tried to rob him. He took the gun and tried to rob the guy back. The cop shot him. Stuff happens, all right? I have another uncle, 13 years in the military, African American. 30 years in the military, retired master sergeant, 27 to 30 years in the military. Lived in Indiana, was accused of statutory rape, a crime he did not commit, was kept in a room for 22 hours in an attempt for them to coerce a confession. Now, most of the time, they'll tell you get to go home if you say you did it, because that's how they treat people. They don't treat people like humans. They treat people like pieces of crap. And sometimes those tactics are necessary, and sometimes you just effed up. So my father ended up having to drive out to Indiana, lawyered up, got us a nice Jewish guy, family lawyer, got him out. My grandmother African American. And when I say African American, dark. You don't look at her and think Dominican. Like Jeff Samuels, her blackness does not sneak up on you, okay? So she got arrested for planting vegetable gardens in the projects in Queens, in Astoria. So she has a cane. They physically manhandle her and throw her into the car sideways. And what they don't know about her is she is in constant communication with the state senator and assemblyman and whatever. Because the older you get, the more you start getting. You're not partisan. Whoever's in charge, they elected him. This is what I need. I don't even know if you're a Democrat or a Republican.
Right.
So those cops got it. The chief got it from all the way down because you arrested a woman who's 81 years old. I just gave you how many? Four cases. Not people you see I saw on TV that I don't know.
Right.
Not a friend of a friend. Not, I have 2 black friends. That's what happened to his mother. That's my family.
Yeah.
That's my family. My mom spent a year in the forest because she was interning for the district attorney's office. So she used to ride with the cops, So so I'm for the police, but but they have to stop protecting each other. They have to stop.
That's where I'm coming from when I say the power structures are broken, right? I mean, I can't fathom a system that protects people who do the things like that you are. You just listed off or that we've seen in the news, it just, and it ruins it ruins the rap for the good guys. And there are good, there are plenty of good guys doing that job. And I believe that, but
yeah, my first love's a cop.
There's no coincidence here. And, the only thing I've had a hard time listening to lately is that it's some kind of a myth because there's too much proof to say that it's a myth.
Do you know why people think it's a myth? Because they spend an awful lot of time when this happens, and you'll agree. You might agree with me, or you might not. The news spends an awful lot of time backtracking the history of the suspect and not the cop. This thing with our guy 9, and I can't even believe his name escapes me, and now I'm going to read it and remember for the rest of my life. This is one of the times they actually examine the history of the cop. Mm-hmm. And when they did that, I said, "Whoa!"
And maybe
so this changed, but it didn't. I mean, and look what they found.
Yeah,
18 complaints. 18 complaints, and the reason why I said it's internal because if you're a cop, Wendy, and I'm a cop, and someone on one of our guys is getting complaints filed against him, don't we go to the captain and say, hey, can you do something about this before he kills someone? Can you do something about this before he goes too far and kills someone? So that's so I made that post because it came from an emotional place. Okay, I am black and I'm white. I'm suffering here. I'm suffering here. I'm suffering from my black brothers, and I have white guilt. All rolled up in one person.
You got a lot of confusion in there, man. But what I really liked about your post was the other point that you made about talking, speaking from your heart or speaking from your head, right?
Ooh,
and
yes.
We only have our own perspective to go on. My life is what it is. Like, I don't know what it's like, and I never will know what it's like to walk down the street as a black person, right? But if we don't share our perspectives and we don't listen to each other, our perspectives never grow and they don't become richer. They become more isolated, right?
Right.
So if we can't listen to each other and we can't dialogue respectfully, how are we going to have a society that grows together, right? So that is incumbent upon everybody to try to diffuse and listen, right? Now, I believe right now it's more on the people who have not experienced this outrageous, unsafe, just feeling of not belonging. It's more on us to listen right now. But we do have to be able to speak from where we're coming from and then let our perspectives grow because we're talking to each other,
Yeah. Well, here's the post. For some reason, that last part got cut off. I tried to find it on Facebook,
Oh yeah.
and I think in an attempt to edit it, it said lastly, if someone does or says something, and I got cut off. But I have it here. If
Okay.
someone does or says something they don't fully comprehend, and they are regretful and apologetic, please learn to forgive. So now we're entering a different wave, right?
Right.
Sometimes they're not exposed for who they really are, and this because you hear that a lot. Oh, he got exposed. He got exposed. Like Drew Brees, I heard someone say he got exposed, and he didn't get exposed. He said this things on Twitter. It's not like he hid the post. It's not like it came from something he tried to delete and hide. He didn't get
Right.
exposed. So I didn't think that applied to Drew Brees. And I said sometimes their errors and apology are explicit as they are open and notorious. Meaning when they say sorry, they really mean it.
Yeah. For sure.
And lastly, sometimes what they're saying, and this is the part I think you like, sometimes what they're saying does not derive from what is in their heart. It
Yeah.
derives from what's missing in their head.
Right.
They got their head in the sand. They got their head in the sand. And I mean, on a worst case scenario, they're ignorant to the facts. And when I say ignorant, I don't mean in an insolent fashion. I mean, they just don't know any better.
Yeah. They haven't been exposed.
You know,
Yeah.
I have a list. I have a top 10 list of people who messed up and apologized and should not be cancel cultured. Al Franken's one of those guys. He felt someone up on Saturday Night Live 10 years later. She had a problem with it. He says, my bad, I apologize. She accepted his apology. They still cancel cultured him.
Yeah.
They canceled him because at the same time they were going after Trump about the grab him by the pussy thing. And they're like,
Okay.
we can't say we forgive him and not forgive Trump. So
Yeah.
his own people had to bury him. And I don't even know why I went there. I'm sorry about that.
Well, no, I see it. I mean, you have a list, so yeah, and I do think you can't. I'm not big on the cancel culture. I'm big on listening and really being able to. I don't know how you trust intention, but I trust my intuition a lot, and you can tell. To me, you can tell if someone is sincere or if it's an apology that's being pawned off on someone else, or you know what I mean. There are sincere apologies out there.
Yeah. And we're not out there trying to make people forgive. We're just asking people to listen.
Yeah.
Because people, they're shaking their head before they even see the apology. They already don't forgive
Right.
before. How do you know if it's authentic? You're not even hearing them out.
You're not listening.
The why is important, right?
Right.
Because the why is ignorance. I mean, not stupidity. That's something else I said. I can tolerate ignorance.
Yeah.
I can't tolerate stupidity, Wendy. Stupidity is protected ignorance.
True.
Those people that are not forgiving, a lot of them are stupid.
Well, and a
I
lot of
said
them
it.
are hurt.
Sorry, go ahead.
And when you're hurt, if you continue to live with that self-protection and you're not going to listen, like you really do, for forgiveness to happen, you kind of have to step outside of your own hurt. And it can be a racial issue, it can be a boyfriend cheating issue, it can be whatever it is that is hurting you. Forgiveness in the end, forgiveness is for ourselves.
Yep.
And it's secondary for the people that are being forgiven.
Agreed.
Right? I mean, the forgiveness frees us first. It frees us to listen.
Right.
Frees us to move on with our lives. It frees us to have new opportunity. Because if we stay stuck in that place where we're hurt, which on the racial issue, there's a clear reason why that hurt runs so deep. But at some point, we have everyone, no matter what your hurt is, we have to start working past the hurt. So hopefully we're getting to a place where we can do that.
Yeah, hopefully, because if we're talking about role models or role models for our kids, right? Our kids are watching us. If we don't forgive, at some point, people are going to stop saying people are not going to apologize. People are going, and kids who are still psychologically developing their brain are going to look for reasons why they're not wrong. Because because this whole walking around with his backpack, this person's never going to forgive me for something I did. Nobody's going to admit nobody's going to own up to their mistakes.
Right.
There's going to be rationalizations behind their mistakes in every facet, and our children's psychological growth. I'm not even talking about adults, because some of them, they're just so far, it seems like they can't come back, even though you and I believe everybody can come back. Because we're optimists like that. We are giddy optimists, in fact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at least you show it.
That optimism comes with hard work, though, man. You gotta put in the work to keep the framework, the perspective working for you. it's not blind optimism. It's definitely it's that's why I say, you know, every connection matters. That's how, when you look for the best in people and you give them that chance. Now, yeah, you're going to get burned sometimes, but I still believe like we're all more alike than we are different. And if we can just listen to where we're different, you know, that's where the world gets great.
Yeah.
And that's where relationships get great. You know, I mean, I'm working. That's where I want to live. So.
Yeah. Did I just inspire something you to write about?
Oh yeah. No, I've always got the blog is always running. So.
I like that. Who was your most recent guest?
I actually haven't been doing interviews. I've been writing. I'm doing something called Everyday Optimism. I have a subscription now on Patreon. So what you can do is get an email from me every day with a quote and a little micro blog. It's about 100 to 200 words, and then a daily action that is going to help you train your mind to be more optimistic. And so I'm growing that. I'm growing my blog. I'm growing my coaching practice, and I do want to get a podcast going like you, but I 4 kids and a bunch of stuff going on, so it's everything's always a work in progress. So
yeah, listen, when I was
I still like to sleep at night, so
definitely. Hey, listen, when I was doing the Tubecast, you were in the room a lot. I would definitely like to make that happen because, every Howard Stern. I mean, you might be the Howard Stern. I may be Robin. I mean, when that's all done. She's like,
no,
man.
You know what? You've got the tech side down. If there's something that scares me, I'm like, good Lord, I don't want to deal with all that stuff. You got it down.
Yeah.
If I can just pop in, I'll come talk to you anytime. But all those microphones and headphones, that is so not my thing.
And this room gets hot.
Yeah, I can deal with that. I'm from Fresno. You forget.
It's true.
You're
like, I'm hot right now just talking to you. I see the sunlight and the sweat glistening right now, Wendy Jones.
I'm not sweating yet, but it was pretty warm out there today.
No doubt. No doubt. And cancel culture, and I know at some point we got to go. Cancel culture, I think it goes too far when a news outlet or a media outlet gets a hold of it. They spin it, and then the people that follow that media outlet are just calling for your heads. Like Joe Rogan, they've come after him a lot of times. They try to cancel culture him twice, but right now he has such a following that people that get what he's talking about, they're like, do what you got to do. If you don't like him, don't listen. He ain't going nowhere. He got $100 million deal, Spotify.
Amazing.
He just signed a $100 million deal with Spotify.
That's the great thing about platforms these days is, we're moving away from the powers that be, and people are finding voices and places to raise their voice. And I think that's super empowering when I say, I think every person can make a difference. Like, it's very empowering to be able to put your voice out there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be on CNN or on Fox News or, whatever, and then have the spin. Like, it's up to each person to put their perspective and their spin, and then let all of that come together.
People also need to be self-honest too. Like, I'll give you an example of a good cancel culture. NASCAR trying to remove the Confederate flag. Fine. You know what? It's time for a flag change anyway. We're good with it. Doesn't mean shit. The show Cops that has been canceled. Because of whatever, or at least temporarily canceled. I just found that out. And I think that's where it goes too far. Because in fact, if you look at the show Cops, you don't see brutality. You see a lot of physicality, and you see a lot of what's going on. And honestly, if it's on camera, man, those cops are gone anyway. I mean, it's on national TV. Gone with the Wind got pulled off of HBO because of racial epithets or insinuations. And that's where I think cancel culture's gone too far. You don't get rid of the historic. You don't get rid of stuff that's already happened, because that's a time period, that's a timeline, and we have to appreciate and always remember what it was like back then. In fact, we can call that part of Gone with the Wind satire. We won't call it oppression, because the more we get to understand each other, the more we can just say that was what it was, and that's not now.
It can't, and that doesn't exist anymore. And I do think like it's on us as parents, but also just something that's lifted my spirits is I really do think each generation has gotten better. I mean, if you think about this is like random, but I mean, think about watching an episode of The Little Rascals. I
Yeah.
mean, are you kidding me? Like
Black.
that stuff wouldn't fly today, and that's what was on TV. Like, oh, we're just gonna talk about throwing like racial epithets and stereotypes, but that was just playing on the TV and nobody thought anything of it. Well, that doesn't fly today, right?
No, it doesn't. You're gonna have buckwheat talk like that today. See how that turns out. Has Stymie talk like the dumb black person or whatever? That stereotypical.
If my kids saw that, they would be like, "What the heck is this?" You know. I mean,
okay, I admit it. They got it right. This generation, they got it right. Hey, but the same people. How many black people you think watched Dukes of Hazzard when that came out?
Oh man,
the big old the General Lee with a big ass Confederate flag.
But, you know,
I love that. I don't give a damn what the PC politically correct person says. Kiss my ass. I loved me some Dukes of Hazzard, and a lot of people, and the same people that were the Incredible Hulk, right? The Hulk, Dukes of Hazzard, and Dallas.
Yes.
The Hulk, Dukes of Hazzard, and Dallas. Who shot JR? Come on.
Oh yeah,
that made the news.
My parents used to tell me I had to go to bed when Dallas came on because I wasn't allowed to watch that.
Same. So. Same. But when it actually made mainstream media, who shot JR? I got told they're like.
I remember that. That was the cover of People magazine.
No, but the self-honesty thing I'm talking about. For the people listening out there, are you trying to tell me, you, an African American in my age group, you trying to tell me you didn't watch Dukes of Hazzard? You're trying to tell me you aren't singing Just the Good Old Boys. You are full of it. You are full of it. I grew up on Flatbush Avenue. Everybody got their butt in the house to watch the Hulk and the Dukes of Hazzard on Friday night. Okay? SNL was off and on. When Eddie Murphy hit SNL, that attracted a bigger African-American population. And then there was something called Uptown Comedy Club, which came out at the same time as SNL. So a lot of people in my neighborhood, and I lived in Harlem for 12 years, were watching that instead. It was like a black guy's SNL. And it was on Channel 5, and it was on the same time. It was like 11 to 12, where SNL is more like 11:30 or whatever,
right.
what time, what have you. But it's one of those things where your friends watch Dukes of Hazzard, and they're not racist. They're not on their knees worshiping the General Lee. You know, they're not wearing Confederate flag, bandanas over their Yankee hat. You don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Understand our ignorance and forgive. Understand our ignorance and forgive.
Time. And we don't have to go back to it, but I agree. I mean, you have to understand where you've come from to understand where you're going. You know.
Yeah. Definitely love people that tell me I don't get it. I just, and there's a lot of it I don't get, but what they're talking about, a lot of their racism takes over. They see I'm a few shades lighter. They assume I don't get it, and I'm just like, you're right now you're becoming every bit the racist that you point out other people to be, you know. Racist meaning, the dictionary meaning, one's innate inherent belief that one is superior or inferior based on their race. You know, people need to be careful with that. You know, I got white guilt. I'm a black guy and a white guy, and I got white guilt and black oppression.
Yeah, and you sit in a very interesting position. And you know, another book that I read in the last few months is called White Fragility. Yeah. And again, I bought this book before any of this, came on the scene. And one of the things I really took from that book was that, there's prejudice, and anybody can be prejudiced, right? Yeah. But racism really becomes racism when somebody has a distinct power advantage over another culture, right?
Which instills the inherent belief.
Yes.
Right.
So that to me was a very big distinction, because you can say, oh, well, and you like what you're describing in your position, you're saying I could feel like someone has prejudice against me either way, right? Because it's either the black guy saying you look too white, or the white guy saying you look too black.
Man, I spot racists on every. I pick them up all over the place, because when you're mixed, boy, they look at you differently, you know. Yeah, it seeps into sports, right, Wendy? For a long time, when you see a black quarterback, doesn't racism in our minds take over, including other black people? Doesn't another black football fan assume that guy can run because he's black and he's a quarterback? You know, which is very much a white problem because they don't understand that the guy could throw and he does hot reads. You look at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, the experts were saying for him to come in as a wide receiver. All right, I'm not talking about the '80s. All right, I'm not talking about Warren Moon, the shit he had to go through. I'm talking about something as recent as last year and the year before. The experts, John Jaworski was like, this guy's not going to be a quarterback in the NFL. He should be a wide receiver. Do you appreciate how stupid people feel right now? The guy was MVP. Like the Ravens were 14-2.
Yeah.
A stout defense, stout front seven, bend but don't break, and the guy got regular season MVP. Oh, by the way, the guy who won the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes, is African American, who, by the way, was the MVP last year. By the way, if you had to give me a top 5 quarterback selection for the NFL, 4 of them are black. Right. So what the fuck are people talking about? When is that stereotype? Oh, he's got strong legs. He runs fast. He should probably be a wide receiver. No, the man's a quarterback. He's just a super athlete that is to be respected for his mind as well as his body.
Yeah.
5 quarterbacks. How about Dak Prescott? How about Russell Wilson? How about Mahomes? 4 of my 5 top quarterbacks, with Brady being my boyfriend. Maybe the white guy's on top of the heap. Maybe he's in the middle of that pack. But my point is, they quality quarterbacks in the NFL, quality starting quarterbacks are now the majority for African Americans.
Yeah.
Coaches for a while. I mean, that diminished a little bit, but the conference that the Ravens win, for a long time, 3 of the coaches were African American. Mike Tomlin, who I think is the best coach outside of Bill Belichick.
Really?
Yeah, last year he had no Ben Roethlisberger, no Antonio Brown, no Le'Veon Bell, and they finished 8-8.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is the same record the Dallas Cowboys finished with all of the talent they have.
Yeah. There were a lot of disappointments in that season.
Yeah. Well, no one's saying Jason Garrett is better than Tomlin anyway. But yeah, Hugh Jackson, Tomlin, and Marvin Lewis. Those were 3 coaches that were all in the same conference. Never mind, the NFL. Bowles from the Jets. The guy in Miami, who I'm glad they didn't get rid of because they had nobody. They were scheduled to finish 0-16 and they finished 5-11. They fought. He had nobody, but man, those guys will run through a wall from they fight. And his name, I'm terrible with names, you know that, but he'll be back with him. So I'm very, very happy that they're keeping him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we sure know how to cover some topics.
Yes, we do. And when this all settles down, my 50th birthday's around the corner.
Nice.
Yeah. Next person I have in the room, I got to have you in the room with me because you've been following the podcast and you've taken interpretive notice that it's no longer just a volleyball podcast.
Yeah, no, I love what you're doing with it. It's really good stuff.
I promised myself the first 10 guests would be players or volleyball people, right? You had Theo Brunner, you had Jeff Samuels, who was a repeat guest.
Sure.
Alexa Strange, Cassie House. Some of the players were really. Theo was one of my favorites. John Mayer.
I'd love that conversation.
Oh, but you were there from the beginning. You were there when we Bill Kalinsky and Miles Evans.
Yeah, we did that one. And then we did Eric Brannick.
Yes. Eric came back on, by the way, and Troy dropped in. So Troy dropped in at the end of the podcast. So, because I asked Eric, it's no longer a tube cast, it's the option now, and I wanted him to get in. Yeah, Troy Field, right, AVP finalist. Jeff Alzina, one of the best coaches in the world, certainly in the United States.
I love talking to Jeff. I'm a huge Jeff fan.
You know what we should do? We should share some of this footage after the podcast, because what you, me, Jeff, and Jaron Barreto, who was also a guest on the show
that was a good one. Yeah.
We talked for 1 hour and 10 minutes about coaching off camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
right. We did. We hung out for a while.
And I'm like, oh, I just turned this camera off, you jackass. I just turned it off. Why? Oh, why? All this mind-blowing knowledge that Alzina was just boom, boom, boom.
No,
boom.
I told that story that day. I sat next to him at the San Jose 1440 match, and watching that guy call point for point what was going to happen, it was like sitting with an absolute, like a psychic.
Oh, the P1440. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like sitting with a psychic. He's like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And He was right every time.
Mystic Mac. Yeah, he was also
Yeah.
in Vegas. He was calling some center court matches in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Vegas. Yeah, they gave. I did court 5 for the whole thing.
Okay.
I did court 5, which is great. With my
So,
highlight being Kelly Larson and Stockman against Brandy Wilkerson and Bansley,
oh,
because
that's a great
they
match.
shut down center court, and the only court that was playing was court 5, my court. So, and then when their site went down, they were like, "Wait, is this up somewhere?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Facebook Live."
Yeah.
What's your name? And I'm like, just you go on NY Varsity Sports. You don't have to be my friend. So
Uh-huh.
and that's what actually got me the job. That was like my audition, and they
So
listened
good.
and they listened to me call that match, and it was great because I knew we know enough about the Canadians and the Americans
Yeah.
where we don't have to research. We know their history. So
Right.
and then from there I did all of Pepperdine's home games. And then the Big West Championship when Hawaii played Cal Poly, I was with Robert Sparrow, Mike Dodd, Tim Hov, Travis Meerwitter. We were the Fab Five, the Fabulous Five.
Super
So,
fun. Well, you bring
great
that
year for
up.
me last year. Great year for
Yeah.
me last year, dude. Got my first team in the main draw. Jake,
Nice.
Earl Schultz and Jake, Hermosa Beach.
Yeah.
They never made the draw.
Was
and
that
they
in
picked-
Hermosa?
Yep,
Yeah, I remember.
on my
Yeah.
birthday. It's just.
Oh, that's right.
I'm
That's
just
good
like,
stuff.
dude, do I get a lap dance too? I mean, just all of this stuff happening. Do you want a drink? Do you want a frozen drink? It's a great time. And good time for you and good time for your kids. Congratulations, your kids going
Thank
to
you.
Stanford. You got your daughter who's probably going to easily go one of Hector's favorite players because she's got that giddy optimism and that work ethic and that a little bit of killer. Yeah, she got a little bit of killer
Yeah,
instinct.
she does. She's definitely got more edge than I did. Like I'm impressed with. She goes after things hard, and I learned that as I got older. But yeah, she's got some killer instinct for sure.
Oh my God, Wendy, thanks for surviving this. Thanks to me, we were all over the place. I drove us off the cliff, but because
You
it's your
brought us
truck,
back?
it climbed up on its own.
Well,
Ladies,
it's
if you ever
always
seen this
fun.
woman's vehicle, listen, she is a mom, not a conservationist. Okay, she's got a truck. I'm blowing you up. Sorry.
You're all good. Well, thank you for having me.
Cool. Let's plug in before we go. Let's plug in the Optimist Journal. How can people?
Yeah, so you
the site,
can
how can people
find me-
listen?
Yeah, my website is theoptimistjournal.com, and you can find me on Instagram at It's Optimists Journ, JOURN, and yeah, the Optimist Journal on Facebook, Wendy Jones, all of those things. So I love writing. Come read my blog, subscribe to Everyday Optimism. And I have a book called 365 Days of Optimism if you're looking for a mindfulness practice that's just a little bit at a time. So check out my website.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Wendy Jones. This is episode 36 of the Option Podcast. For all of you at home, for all of you standing online with your iPad at Starbucks, social distancing, for all of you on your iPhones or Androids listening to this podcast, this live version of the podcast, for Wendy Jones, I am Jason DeBias, and we both say to you, so long. We're out.
Thanks, Jason.
Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.